What up, what up, what up? All right, how's everybody doing today? Happy Sunday, right? End of the weekend. Hello, my friends. Concrete Gaming, Signature Sounds, what's up, Kevin? Expressive, Jeanette. Expressive again, what's up, George? Hey, Wendy. Hey, Crypto77. Ali, Steph, Justin, Matt. Izzy, Adrian, hello, Jeremy. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. It's pretty much Sunday everywhere, I assume. End of a nice weekend, I hope for most. The crazy humidity I've been dealing with for several weeks has lifted. This was a gorgeous Sunday. I was able to get outside, get in the yard a little bit, work in my garden a little bit, and it was nice to be out there in the sun, but it's also nice to be here chatting with you guys because we get some Bitcoin to talk about, don't we? All right, so guys, remember you guys can find me on Twitter. I am at BigChonis. These are all my best ideas. I take technical analysis very seriously. I am a crypto trader. I'm a mentor. I'm a chart psychologist. I'm an investor. I'm also a photographer and a chef. Please do your own research. A couple things here. I have a new premium Discord channel I'm involved in. I'm very excited about it. Includes direct access to me, BigChonis. Here's the link for it on my Twitter page. It is pinned, and it has all the package information. If you have any questions about this, guys, please feel free to DM me or email me, bigchonis@gmail.com. And I can answer any questions you have about this, as well as my mentoring, which I am retweaking somewhat based on a lot of the feedback and a lot of the experiences I've had with some of my students through August. They've been great. I've met some new friends. We've had some great sessions, but I'm trying to figure out kind of a better way to provide this service. Because of a lot of people want to be a part of it, and I have to figure out, my time is being stretched now, so I want to make sure I can provide exactly what I'm promising and what I'm able to basically teach and show to my new students. So I will be adding additional information very soon about my mentoring program as well. And I did a great chat here earlier this afternoon with at Crypto Wendy O. We talked about Bitcoin, we talked about fundamentals, we've talked about how to be a smart trader and to learn from your mistakes and to constantly be educating yourself. I constantly learn from people I follow on Twitter, from people I follow on YouTube, reading things, watching tutorials, just completely immersing myself in anything that is crypto or blockchain related, because I feel it makes me a much stronger person in this field, and really allows me to provide some of the content and hopefully some of the education that I want to provide for you guys there. So this is the link here that goes to until 1 million. So it has all the packages there as well. So please feel free to ask me any questions about that. Okay. That being said, let's talk about Bitcoin, and let's talk about a couple of things here. Now it is 6 p.m. in the world where I am, which means that the market does close in 2 hours. And that is the daily candle, and it's also the weekly candle. And we're going to look at the weekly first, but I just wanted to obviously bring everybody's attention to this nice little kind of low volume pop we had in the price, like a half hour ago or something. Because what we have here is a situation where we had actually a very couple, really large red sell-off candles here, but our last one here actually had a decent sized lower wick. So a lot of this, even though it's very red, was kind of bought up, and then just a little bit of money flow, we kind of see what we are able to achieve here. Now, obviously, we hit resistance in this area that has basically held us down here, right? Every time we do try and break bullish, resistance 66, right? 65, and then everything kind of in between. Every time we get up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of our fifth time here. Every time we get up here, profits are taking as sell-off continues. Okay, so we call this ranging. So we're range bound clearly in this area. Now, back here, I remember we were talking about some sort of a head and shoulders. So shoulder, this was our head, and then this here, maybe something over here was supposed to be our shoulder here, and then that kind of got invalidated with this bearish break, basically making this not the head. But wait a minute here, what are we putting here? What if we putting in some sort of a head shoulder? Oh, shoulder shoulder head, shoulder shoulder, where we're putting in a larger and a different structure, okay, than our previous inverse HNS we had over here. Remember, this, they don't all look the same. I mean, you have a very pointy shoulder here. You have a kind of a double head, an upside down Batman mask, if you will. And then you have something a little more like a 80s shoulder pad, if you will, almost almost like a Kiss, the band kind of spike shoulder pad. So there's a lot of kind of subjection when we draw out these patterns of, oh, it's a clear head and shoulder, because there's nothing clear about things. Most of these have very weird shapes, but it's about the overall structure that makes us be able to believe that, okay, we are putting in a pattern like this. And of course, this HNS, inverse HNS, got to use the inverse, brought us this very nice bull move here. So what we're doing here, it's getting kind of similar. And I'm just kind of, remember, being very broad here, but we definitely have an area here where we have two areas here. We have a defined lower point, okay? And we kind of have like another potential shoulder being built. Now, I don't think we've fallen far enough here to constitute this as the shoulder. I guess let's just play around here for just a second here. Let's say we go higher. Let's say we actually say our neckline is higher. Okay, let's play this out a little differently here. Maybe that will make our shoulder, right shoulder. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I kind of feel I'm stretching a little bit, but that's not far off. I would like this to be lower, and that really could basically sense maybe we're going down something like here, right, where we're not done yet with this drop, but we actually could, once we get back into these 6,000 range, look for that third bounce to bring us back here, and then we can definitely talk about something like this. But I don't think we're there yet. So anyways, I wanted to start really at our weekly candle, because this is what we're talking about. In 2 hours, this candle actually closes. So I'm kind of get rid of my indicators here, kind of zoom in here. I'm on Bitfinex, but most of these candles are pretty much the same. All right, so a couple of things here. Okay, so let's acknowledge a few things. We had back-to-back really red, really bearish candles. I remember talking at the end of last week, a week ago today, when we had closed here, right? This is our close of that weekly candle. And I'm like, okay, we put in a wick here. I assume we're going to go somewhere lower this week and potentially put in an equal wick. And wouldn't it be nice to have some sort of a tweezer bottom? Kind of what we have here, okay? These wicks were very close, not to the penny, but really close enough. But we actually fell lower. We actually put in a lower high this week here. So couple things here. That's bad, okay? We were not able to hold here. We're only able to hold here. So we're only using now this low as we go into next week, okay? That's now our low of support, where we just have to hold above, and then you can start to make an argument, well, at least we're putting in higher lows, okay? But for that to happen, we have to hold above 58 and 60 cents, give or take a few bucks, depending on how much exchange there are, which was the low of this week, which ends in 2 hours. So that's our low this week. Technically, okay, we are putting in a higher low here than we did in the end of June, early July, but we're really, grasping at straws here, if you want to call this any kind of a major bullish divergence from these here. So we're going into next week, okay? This is subjective here. It's a green candle, so that's good, okay? It could be potentially considered a bottom hammer, because we're not really at the low of the trend. This would be more of a bottom hammer than this, but it is that it also could be some sort of a hanging man as well, kind of floating out there. You wanted the bulls to close out closer to the top, okay? but they're only able to get yay high. I do like the wick on the bottom is much longer. Now we see the previous week the body was much longer. Body was much longer in this one here, right? And now this was all wick up here. So this was very bearish. This was our shooting star here, especially on a weekly time frame there. So this is still tough to play because it's green, which is good. It has a long wick, which is good. Those are two bullish things there. But we do have an upper wick here, not as big. We're range bound. What's our volume look like here? So our volume is more or less what we actually put in last week. So we're seeing some stability for sure. And looks like we're just about almost going to close. Yeah, so we held our close there. So we're tight. So we're definitely putting in a lower high. 64.85, so we closed that. So we're putting in right now roughly $100 more or so than we closed last week. So we have a potentially, remember, I'm speculating. I shouldn't do that because we have hour and a half left, hour and 45 minutes left. The next hour and 45 minutes, this could definitely turn a very different candle here. So I'll keep this weekly aside, but just know where we're at right now. Also know we have a lot of EMA resistance above. Let's also see where our Bollingers are here. BBs, I love my BBs. Okay, so also our middle BB resistance has held. Okay, we've yet to touch our lower BB since June. Interesting. So here we see we touched it. We actually found nice support over it, kind of skimmed above. Okay, currently a touch of that would be at 52.84. Our MA 100 on our weekly, which is this blue line, is also at 5,000 now. For the first time, it's above 5,000 ever. So that's cool. That's something. That's support. Okay. And then our red one here is our 200 MA on our weekly, and that is still under 3,000. Very high time frame. Let's zoom in. Okay, so now this is our daily chart. Let's do a little synopsis here. So this red one here is our 200 MA, okay? You need to know this one because it has acted as very strong resistance once the support broke, which was here. Resistance, resistance. Never even touched it. Resistance, resistance, okay? Here, same deal. Couldn't get it to touch it. Had our tweezer top here. Came down, found support on our lower BB. Now you notice in our daily chart here, it took one day to be outside of the lower BB. This is right here. When this candle closed on our daily, we closed right here. It took one day for the price to shoot, boom, right back up and into the support of the lower Bollinger. And then we've been doing all this sideways stuff. So next resistance, major, and I consider it major, is our middle Bollinger, which is currently at 66.91, okay, and falling, although the descent is slightly lessening. Our lower support here on our daily lower BB is at 56.73 and rising rather quickly. We were at 55, now we're so almost $200 in like 3 days. So this will also be major support, okay, even if it breaks. If it breaks, we've seen it's actually a decent buying opportunity, especially if we're this wide here. We were actually a little tighter here. See how they got tight? Price continued. We're still kind of wide here, okay? This is tight. This is tight. Okay, the daily, we see how wide we still are, which tells me that the bigger move in Bitcoin it has to happen more so when these get tighter. We see how wide they are on the daily. We definitely see how very wide they are on the weekly, and I actually feel that this is, even though compared to here we're a lot closer, still very wide compared to where we actually used to be when we were slowly rising higher. So we're still very wide here on a very high time frame. Actually, let's go out really crazy and look at our monthly here. Same deal. This is an example here where you see we're way overbought on our Bollinger, okay? Nasty shooting star. And once we actually tested it again and got a very strong resistance rejection here, but all downhill from there. Now, the very first time on the monthly chart we have touched our middle BB. Look at that. Great bounce. It's held. And I expected this to hold, okay? Because this is a major support and it's the first time it's been touched since the last time we hit the upper BB. Now on this very high time frame, ignore where this currently is here at negative $1,600. Okay, obviously that's crazy, but what this means is that we're still extremely spread out on the monthly chart. You see how tight historically, okay, we're actually pretty wide here, and this has to correspond with our last parabolic move of 2014, 2013, okay? We got tight, relatively speaking, here almost around April of 16. That was the tightest our monthly actually got. I'll zoom in a little bit here. You can kind of see. All right. Remember, we're all talking about relatively speaking here, but the Bollingers represent volatility as well as volume and price action. So you see we were pretty wide here. This is tight for a monthly chart, okay? And you see how huge, how big this Jaws shark mouth width here of our Bollingers actually is here. And what I mean by that is we aren't going to go on anything outside of the move of standard deviation or outside of some crazy parabolic move until we tighten these up. And then this is the monthly chart, so this will take a long time. This will take several months. You know, I'm just keeping it real here. For these to tighten up, will then bring on the chance for another a very long-term move. Remember this, once they tightened and released, we had over a year and a half here of move here. So that was very impressive. But for that to get happening again, we got to tighten these up. We're way wide still. Let's go to our 4 hour and talk about our in-depth price action here. Now, I talked about in our last show that our 4 hour Bollingers were getting a lot tighter here. You see our confluence here of EMAs and MAs. When they get tight like that, it doesn't take a lot to blast through all of them. And sure enough, this candle here definitely did do that. Now, this is the last 4 hour candle currently of the week. Our previous one, okay, was red. But look at the wick here, okay? It's this one right here. Look how long this wick was. So even though this candle was red, a lot of this was actually bought up, okay, in anticipation for some side of a push. We push it a little bit higher there and poof. But where do we hit resistance? We hit resistance on our MA100 and pretty much in the area right now of our upper BB. So we're very range bound here and we're getting tighter here, okay? So a bigger move, it just feels like it's coming soon. Like, you know, I know we've said that, but this was a nasty drop and a very quick one. So a lot of this sideways price action, you see what's happened. It's allowed a lot of our MAs, a lot of our EMAs to straighten up, okay, to kind of reset, okay. These falling slides, these chutes and ladders, okay, were very steep, okay. So this boring, more or less uneventful range bound, still, you know, up 500, down 500, up 500, totally flippable if you're trading this on short time frame, right? Has been range bound because it's allowed our EMAs or MAs or indicators to reset. And all the reason that does is basically it symbols a different move, a bigger move is coming. And because that's what's going to see this fan out, and we've seen it before, we broke bearish here, we see our EMAs, our MAs fanning out. When we break bullish, they fan out. I can kind of show you on, there we go. You know, they fan out bullishly. So now we've fanned out bearishly, and something's happening. Now remember, when we got tight here, very tight in this area here, this is when we began to move, and we're getting in that tightness again, okay? But again, our first MA, NA100 on our 4 hour chart, make note of that, okay? Because that's acting as resistance just as it did here when it acted as support, broke bearish, tried to back test, and held ever since. So our little blue line here on all of August, okay, price has been under it here. Now our first test, we get rejected, that's fine, I'll accept that. Okay, but the bulls are, you know, ready to go, and they're ready to move forward with some price action here because they know that now they're finding some of these MAs and EMAs that were once resistance are now actually acting as support. So from a chart perspective, these are the kind of things you want to see where you actually have a better foundation below you that you can start to test other areas higher here. Whew, okay, so we'll do a couple quick things here. I haven't looked at the RSIs or stochastics yet, so we'll start with our 4 hour here. Okay, so we do have a bull uptick on our stochastics. We were able to pretty much reset down here. Okay, we actually from here we actually put in a higher low, but from here we put in a lower low. So not much to tell about that. Now when we got back up here, we were up here for about 4 days. I mentioned previously that historically this is where we've been about 5 days. If you're up in this area for 4 or 5 days, that tends to be telling you you're due for some sort of a bearish pullback, a bearish reset. Does not mean that you're completely out of the woods yet. So once we've come back here, we've tilted bullish here, but it's weak. This is feeling weak because you want to see the blue really extend quickly. That shows you got a little more force in there, and because these are still very close, it's kind of more of a trickle up, and that kind of corresponds with how low our volume currently is right now. Our 4-hour RSI, I had this in a channel earlier, and look at that. We actually held the lower channel with a double tap almost on a higher plane, which kind of makes me think I have to adjust my channel here a little bit higher, something like that, and then consider these kind of bear traps here and here when it actually breaks bearish, but actually turned out to be a very good buying opportunity. So we're holding support here. We're just getting closer to our middle channel line resistance, which was acting as support until we broke bearish from it. So there could be some chop in this area with our next target, RSI target, to get back up to our upper channel here. We're above 50. We like that. We like to be above 50, but let's see where we are on the daily chart and if we're actually 50 makes a big difference here. Yeah, interesting. So we're still under 50 on our daily chart. Now we have to acknowledge where we actually did find support here at 30, and historically speaking, it's great to go back in time and see where a break of 30, we got a V bottom, a break of 30, V bottom. Here we actually felt support over it, okay? Support. So look at 30 on a daily RSI, give or take a couple points here, does show some support, but we do show some real bearishness that can come in and could bring our daily all the way as low as 16, which I did here back in August of 2015. So you got to keep this in mind too, that if you want to ask yourself what's a nasty bearish RSI on a daily candle or a daily line there, that's where you're at. Now we're far from that here. Okay, we're trying to get above 50 again, where we want to be. And what's preventing us from doing that? Well, we hit resistance here. And look at that right there. Boom and boom. So we have these mountain peaks here that actually this shows that 45 can act as a very strong resistance area. Once broken, it failed to hold, but it was back tested. And then once it broke bullish, okay, we were all in this nice little happy time we had in July. So now it's acting as resistance, which it had previously. So let's go a little higher here and see what kind of our next target is. And listen, it's 50. Like, listen, let's get over 50. Okay, it's gonna be tough because we see areas that it's been resistance tested as support. It's a major resistance, but it also tells a lot of story about where the market can go. Our weekly though is a little scarier because we're in the 44. We broke 50 quite a while ago, and once we did that, here it's been resistance ever since. So we see again on a much larger time frame, on a weekly standpoint, we can get to as low as 28. That's really the bearish, but that also can signal some sort of a bottoming. You see where we currently are there as well. MACD on our weekly, okay, still very bearish. Okay, this was our bull move here. Note how wide and how outside the standard deviation our leading indicator is from our trailing indicator. Okay, I mean, this is your overbought top to the nth degree example. Note it because you can work on the same reverse. If we break super bearish at some point, this can be an example of what an oversold bottoming can look like. Just flip it upside down. We tried to break bullish here with a cross. We failed. We rejected. So we're still bearish here, and we're still under our zero line on our weekly, which is also bearish. Now our daily, look at that. We're very close here to wanting to put in some sort of a good bull cross here. We're not there yet. We have not crossed officially. We are on the negative though, so you have to keep that as an example. Very tight here as well. Once again, you see how bullish that can be on the daily. You see how bearish it can be on the daily. We are putting in higher lows. That is notable. I think I do want to note that. I think we should note that for the folks. Something like this. Okay, that's something notable there. Even if we're going to pull back, at least we can put in higher lows here. Now remember, the NACD is a trailing indicator. I kind of use it for a more broader sense of what's happening and not necessarily for quicker moves in the market. All right, I'm going to just touch base briefly with our chat room here. We've been talking for 25 minutes here. I do have a tendency to kind of drone on, don't I? All right. Hey, Jane. Hey, Oscar. Hey, Guy. Let's see here. Adrian, Crypto777, Joe T. Just want to give shout outs here. Miriam, Jason, Oscar. Oh, Chart Vampire. Hello. Uh, yeah, buddy. Chart Vampire, The Slayer, Never Sleeps, Bubble Charts, Kryptonite Zones, Supercrosses, Tremendous TA. What's up, Just Me? Andre, hello, my friend. Hey, Randy. Randy. All right, so that's some Bitcoin there. Let's see. Oh, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Take a look at our longs and shorts, because a lot of talk on Twitter and the Twitterverse about this short squeeze. So let's talk what a short squeeze is. Now, people, get your head out of the gutter. Okay, I'm not talking about a short squeeze. Okay, this is about TA here. This is a TA short squeeze where the shorts rise. Okay, this is a very steep rise here in the shorts. That's notable. Okay, and so all right, back here in April where we had our shorts load up to an all-time high area here, and that basically caused two things because the market was very bearish there. They were way over leveraged, and we had this very quick pop in the price here where a lot of big money flew in, right? And it created a tremendous amount of volatility. I think I have to do something. There it is. There it is. I can hit my 100 there. Yeah, and my 7. Perfect. Okay. So we have this gap here in price where it actually used to be down here. Okay, bigger, much bigger gap, but because in our most recent move here, back to present day here, come on, all right, right here, we actually were able to fill most of that gap, okay, but there's still a little left, which means the gap is still open, which means I feel the shorts definitely have to rise to the occasion and get up and literally touch this green line here. Not that green line, this green line. Why is it up there? There we go. This is the green line. This line represents a filling of this gap, and I've looked back at all of them. There's a few more here. They've all been filled. Okay, all the gaps have been filled. Here's an example of one here. It's filled here. There's one little one here filled. Okay, this is the only one left. And that's important because gaps like to get filled in the charts. I've seen it before. So what this means is that I expect one more test up here. Now, what does this mean? This can mean two things for Bitcoin. Bitcoin could rise in price, and the bears could still load their shorts as the Bitcoin rises in price, loading as Bitcoin rises higher, expecting a much more stronger drop. Or Bitcoin could just drop and people will think it's going to drop a lot more and they'll start loading up anyway. So these rising, it can kind of mean a short-term bullishness for Bitcoin because people will be loading shorts into Bitcoin's strength, which is risky, but that's the risk in basically shorting Bitcoin. Or Bitcoin is basically turned bearish in the price, and the feeling is that the market itself is turned a lot bearish, and it's safer to basically load shorts into a declining price of Bitcoin. Either way, it's kind of a bearish sign for Bitcoin. What you kind of want to see is this to be declining and basically break our support wedge, which is held, right? This is total support here, right? So it's held all this time. And if this were to break bearish, that actually would be kind of the first sign for me that Bitcoin actually could have turned bullishly around the corner, because that would break this trend here. Remember, this is a bullish trend in Bitcoin shorts, is overall a bearish trend in Bitcoin. Longs, I assume, are still doing bupkis. Yeah, they're still finding some resistance here on our line, okay? Not a lot of conviction right now in longs. Not a lot of conviction right now that we've, turned a corner in the price of Bitcoin, that we're about to make new highs, and that's why you're seeing not any large conviction. A lot of these long contracts here, we're definitely into a low area right here. Definitely we're back in there in May, back in February as well. So again, we're seeing bearish signals even with little minor bull pops, or I guess stability pops in Bitcoin. Oh yeah, let me briefly talk about, I love this chart. This is my GAN. I've been tweeting this on Twitter for weeks now, and we're very close. It's next week, I think. Next, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday, I think, is the completion of my little chart experiment here. And what this is, basically, it's a 60-day cycle. And the reason I chose 60 days here, I'm kind of get rid of my volume, is because I noticed that from our net low over here to our top here was exactly 30 days. And I know that Bitcoin is secular. We've seen it happen in the past. So I wanted to see if Bitcoin could put in a 60-day cycle from top to bottom, bottom being return back exactly to right around 57.50 where it all began. Now, I made this chart originally when the price of Bitcoin was up here, because I had actually pegged it top of our resistance line here. I think I made it on this candle or this candle. I've been tweeting it ever since. And what's been very fascinating is you've been seeing this hold major areas of support lines and our GAN squares throughout along the way down. And it's kind of interesting to see areas where the price clearly is respecting areas of support and resistance, It rode these blue descending kind of water slide rainbow down here, okay? And for a while, it's been finding resistance on this line here. It broke it, couldn't close, broke it, couldn't close, closed above, couldn't hold. And now for the first day, we're actually closing above. And that's very promising here, because we still have an hour and a half left in this daily candle. And if we can close above this line here, which has held candle close below ever since we entered this box, back 7 days ago, okay, that'd be an important sign. That would tell me where we could go next. And where we could go next is this confluence here of resistance, which corresponds with these EMAs, MAs, as well as our little slide here, which we had seen on our blue slide here, acted as strong resistance and support as the price rode way down. It broke it. Next day, came right back in, broke it again. Next day, came right back in. Same deal this way. If we can go trickle along here and start hitting these blue line here, I assume that would be resistance at some point. If we can enter the slide, maybe we can go up. But last time we hit the slide here, we came down. So this could bring us down to the completion of our 60-day cycle. Very excited to see. And this is the 24th. So 5 days. So that'll be cool to see how that plays out. Just a little fun experiment there. Again, we're going to use TA to tell us what's going to happen in the future based on what we have and the information we have in the present. All right, I'll do one more chart here. Let me bring back my BB. Perfect. Okay, so this is our daily chart. Now we see our resistance here on our middle Bollinger Band, which is right here, clearly marked. We have our EMA 55, which is right here, okay? Notice when the price came down, it had found it initially as support on 2 candles, broke bearish, and is basically held bearish. Oh, actually, no, this was our 55 up here. Support, little support, support, little support, broke bearish, bearish ever since. This also was the area here where we had a lot of our bear crosses in our EMAs here. EMA 12, which is hidden. That's why I can't find it. There it is, right there. Okay, so we are just about above it right now, and it would be great if we can close above it. Okay, still have an hour to go, but we haven't closed above it yet. Now, this resistance, we broke it. This was resistance here, resistance, bullish, couldn't hold. Again, okay, we're right there. If we can hold above, we can cross that off the list and try and get to part 2, which is our resistance at our middle Bollinger, which is held all of August. So I do think that's notable. And then that basically corresponds where currently our 26 is, and then our 55. So all these are slowly descending and will act as strong resistance. But if we have a bullish pop, we can definitely start to tackle these. Talk about a little bearish scenario here if we can. I have to say it. Let's say we do break bearish. Let's say we have basically topped out already. We're unable to get above 6,500, 6,550, maybe as high as 66. We can still touch 66 again, you know. But if we are able to basically get rejected one more time, which has currently held the price down for so long, that's gonna be notable, because then we start to break bearish here. So what does that mean? It puts basically 6,000 back in play. Okay, it may hold, which is right at our 23.6. Let me actually make this decimals. Good. 0.236 fib level. So there's definitely support there. Now, if we break that, that's our first chance to retest our 328 at 57.33, which is more or less basically saying we're going to retest our June lows here. And this is kind of that moment of truth area. Remember, this could potentially coincide with our lower BB. We're not sure what path this is going to take. Bitcoin can go up, and this can basically rise with it. If it goes down, this can also rise or fall depending upon how fast, because the BBs react to volatility as well. If we're unable to hold our June lows and we actually put in a bearish scenario, these are kind of where I'm starting to set up where I would think we'd find support all the way down to a break of potentially 5,000. So start to keep these in your head here. We're not there yet, and there's still lots of support below us that can hold us and can prevent a lot of this from happening. But it's important at this stage to know what is going on and what our possibilities are. And, you know, as a trader, you always look for risk versus reward. You always want to find an area here where you kind of put your money to work and have its best possible return. And there are certain times here where we're doing a lot of this sideways price action, where you're looking for market direction and it's just not giving it to you. That as a trader, maybe it's just safer just to sit back and relax, watch, learn from it, watch indicators, see what happens here. Okay, our stochastic's still rising here, but maybe this is resetting again, so it can fall. Remember, we were up here, okay? We were up here when the price was $8,500. Now we're kind of back in our same price here in our stochastic, and the price is $6,300 here. So this little bit of a daily grind, slightly higher, though resetting our indicators, showing a nice sign of bullishness, does not necessarily mean this is we're out of the woods. And indeed, this could be setting up for a much larger fall now that we've risen our RSI to fall further, that we've risen our stochastics to turn bearish once we get up here, you know. So short term, there could be a little bit more room to run, especially how we end the day. It's all about this daily close here. It'll be very important to see how it does. So far, this is decent, okay? It's a decent body. It is green. I'd like to close as high as possible. The smallest wick above is very important. This is a little wick here, but we also see a very tight price range too. I like that. Nothing like this crazy candle or this crazy candle. So we're getting closer to more direction. A lot of our sideways action has allowed our indicators from fanning to start to come in a little tighter and a little tighter. Okay. That's all I got today. Stay safe. Thank you for joining me, everybody in the chat room. I love you guys. If you really like this video, I totally appreciate a thumbs up. Tell your friends. I like putting out great content for you guys and kind of sharing what I see out there. And you guys can follow me on Twitter. I am at BigChonis. You guys can find my TA packages on until1mil.com/packages. Have any questions about those, guys, feel free to DM me or email me at BigChonis. Remember, Bitcoin is a heartbeat. All you need to do is trade the pulse. Talk to you soon. Have a great week next week. I'll be in touch.